Hello and welcome to Cat Sith Get Banged, the Team Calamity Final Fantasy TCG podcast. I am your host, Tom Hall, and joining me today on the cast we have all Team Calamity affair this week. It's Mitch Lander.
Hello.
And George Mendoza Neal.
Hello.
Hello. George, it's your first time on the stream, I think.
It is.
Is that right? So, well, welcome to the podcast. So this is a special edition of the podcast, even though it's the only edition we ever seem to do recently, which is our Legend review show. So we're looking at the new Opus 15 Legends, which would have been pre-released tomorrow, but it's been delayed another week. But they are live to the public, so we can have a look at them. Yeah, we'll be going through our Legends, assigning them ratings. We don't do full set reviews. Team Calamity, we leave that to people know what they're talking about in other areas. So, I mean, do we want to say anything about Opus 15, or do we just go straight into the Legends?
I think the less said, the better about this.
Okay, it's going to be one of those. Okay, well, we'll get straight into Legends then. No small talk. If you want to play along with the podcast, what we do on our Legend reviews, rather than just rate everything like out of 10 or out of 5 or something, we assign them a ranking. So the rankings are S tier being the best, and then A, B and C. To try and make it more interesting, you can only have a certain amount of each tier. You can't make everything S tier, can't make everything C tier, even if you wanted to. So what we do is you have 2 slots for the S tier, and then the other slots are all 4 cards, and then you just have to put in that order. Normally, once you're locked in, but I think for this set, we'll let you change as we're going, in case somebody convinces you that it's something's better than you thought it was, for example. We'll let you swap about. We'll try and lock them in as much as we can. Are we ready to Legend review?
Yeah, basically, you're just not set on what you want yet, so you want to swap.
I'm completely... I tried to do some preparation for this, and I just don't really know. I need some convincing as we go to help me on. Maybe it's just my lack of knowledge, but I need some help to understand these ones. Obviously, this time there's no multi-element. This will be a straight two Legend per element review. We'll go in order of the official page, which I think starts with Fire. Let me get those up. So Fire will be the first set. If you're watching us live, hello, welcome. Feel free to rank your scores as we're going through. Get them in early because we're on a bit of a delay on the stream. So if we don't want to skip too quickly through some of these cards, so get your thing in. And if you've got any comments about certain cards, feel free to share them. We might just read them out. Seeing there's only 2 of you watching at the moment, good chances of you getting your comments read out. Cool, right. First card up is Palum. I will read the cards out as well, so if you're not watching the video and you're listening to the actual podcast, this should help you. So Palum, Fire Legend, 2 cost, forward, Job Apprentice Mage. Oh, there's a lot of text on these actually, isn't there? Okay, this is going to be annoying. Right, at the end of each of your turns, place 1 EXP counter on Job Apprentice Mage. Oh, on each Job Apprentice Mage you control. For each XP, what is it? Is it XP or EXP?
Experience counter.
Oh, experience, yes, the one. Placed on Palum. Palum gains 1,000 power, and then he has a action ability which is 0 cost. Choose 1 forward, deal it 2,000 damage. If there are 3 or more experience counters placed on Palum, deal it 8,000 damage instead. You can only use it once per turn. He's a 4,000 power Legend. Mitch, now I know you've told me that the first deck you're going to build for Opus 15 is a Palumporum deck, so you can have the honours of leading out with the first one.
Let's lead strong. This is going straight down to C tier. So, okay. The reason I mentioned a Palumporum deck, and this is not the reason I want to build this deck. This is crap. Like, okay. It deals 2k. It deals 2k. This is old levels of Fire stuff. It's even if it manages to survive 2-3 turns, it does 8k. A lot of things are a lot bigger than this now. Like the standard 4-drop is 9k, so 8k is not going to cut it anymore. I'm not a fan at all.
So you're going to see George.
Mhm.
Where are you sitting with Palum? I feel like this is going to be a quick set review.
Uh,
So, there we go. Where are you sitting with Palum?
I'm in very much the same boat as Mitch. I've put that straight in C. I think it'd be all right if there were more apprentice mages, but it's literally the two of them, and that's it. So there's not much more that can be said about this card, is there?
No, I mean, it's searchable in water. You can Phoenix it in. Maybe you can pair it with stuff, but
Why would you?
yeah,
When all the other targets you've got to Phoenix in, It's...
yeah. As I said, there's a lot more stuff you can do with better cards. So and
Okay.
you compare it to cards like in the last set, like Guts Co and stuff like that. Like the value, it doesn't even generate any value really. It's just a 2k ping for 2 CP. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone C as well. I was hoping, because you were building this first, you were going to show me why it's good. But yeah, for me, it's just a bit weird because you have to wait, 2 to 3 turns for something that's only 4k, which is nothing these days in the game. I just don't really see it. And in fact, you can only use the ability once. Maybe if you could use it a few times, you've got that sort of the threat of, you get to 3 turns and all of a sudden he's like 8k and everything. Or if you could do it many times, but you could only pick one forward once, for example.
Or you do as many times as you got counters or something like that. Maybe just to really speed it up. The problem is because it's like counters as well. It's always going to be slow.
And correct me. There's no way to add counters currently, is there, for a forward? So you can add monsters.
No, I think there's a wind one last set that came out. It's like if you deal damage to your opponent, you can double the counters on something.
Okay.
I'm sure that was a card, but then it's sort of like
so to make Palumporum work, you have to make them tri-element.
Yeah, you have to play wind.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was a card.
That does sound familiar, actually. Yeah, I'm thinking of the backup. Is it Sid?
Yeah, that was monsters.
Yeah, that was monsters. So Ben says this is an easy C, a poor rare card. Okay, all right. Let's. So we've all gone C. Let's move on from Palum. Yeah, I don't understand this one personally. Maybe when you get using it, it will come to light. I don't know. Right. So the next one is the next Fire Legends. This is Furion. There's another forward. Something slightly interesting with Furion. So he's 3 cost forward. He's a warrior slash rebel. A Worrel for you. This is the first time we've seen this sort of double job cards for this set, which is quite cool. Category 2. When Furion enters the field, you may pay 1 crystal. When you do so, draw 1 card. Furion gains 1000 power, haste, and first strike. This effect does not end at the end of the turn. And then you can also has another action ability, which is discard pay 1 crystal. Furion gains 3000 power until the end of the turn. And he's a 7k legend. So before we start on this one, Mitch, do you want to quickly explain the new crystal mechanic for anyone who's not familiar with it? This is the new big thing.
It's the new big thing, and in typical fashion, they haven't really explained the rules that well. You can gain crystals. They don't go in your hand. They're just there as like generate. You just keep hold of them. You keep hold of them even after your turn has ended, and you can just stock up on them, and then you pay them. It's basically just like a resource pool, I think. As I said, it's just generally what we know about it from what I can tell.
And so with the action ability, which has a crystal, does that mean you have to pay the one, or does it mean if you control one?
No,
it is a payment, isn't it?
Yeah, you pay 1.
Okay, cool. George, do you want to go ahead with Furion?
Right, I feel like you two are going to tell me off for this. I've put it in A. I like my fire decks, and this is searchable with another card that's in the set. I think it's a 5-drop forward, I can't remember now, but you can search your deck for a 3-drop rebel and play it straight onto the field. I'm not 100% convinced by the crystals yet, but I like the fact that if you've got a few of them, you can just boost it up to what could be 11k without even thinking.
No, it only triggers once.
Huh?
The Oh, what you mean
If you had lots of
pay?
crystals.
Oh,
Yeah.
If you've got lots of crystals, yeah, so it comes out onto the field, it then becomes 8k
yeah.
with first strike. Something goes to attack it, or you have to block with it, or something, and it goes up to 11k. I like that for a 3-drop.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing with this is that there is a 3-drop Furion that, if you've got fire backup, goes up to the same and has haste and first strike.
Yeah.
Without needing the crystals. But yeah, Mitch, yes, you've gone A. This is positive. Where are you at with this one, Mitch?
So, I would have liked this to have Brave. If this had Brave, it'd be a lot better card than I'm rating it. I like the artwork a lot. I don't know if this is a clue on where I'm going to put this. I still think it's C tier.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say C.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like, I think Guy bringing it in could be good. I just think that you're going to generate this crystal. You're going to draw a card out of it. You're going to make this forward okay, and then it's just going to die to something that's not even going to be important. Like, it's going to come in as 3-drop 8k off of Guy. And to be fair, I'm not even sure that Furion is the best target for it, because I think Leon is, because then you can get Maria out of it.
Isn't the Searcher a rebel as well? So Joseph is the 3-drop rebel that you play, because then it searches a card. So that is it a forward that Guy plays? I think it's just Job Rebel.
Yeah, it's just Job Rebel. So you can play like Joseph.
Yeah.
You can play, as I said, you can play Leon, and then on 3 damage, you play a Maria, and then that spams 3 forwards. I feel like Furion is the worst target out of all of them, and that's really bad for a legend card. It's just, I don't know, like.
Yeah, so I've gone C for this as well. But my main gripe with this is around the actual crystal mechanism, which I think is probably something that's going to come up the more we talk about this. Because at the moment, I don't know if it's just a development thing or we're going to see this, multi-element. It's been for a few sets, you saw it sort of growing, but at the moment, it's quite hard to actually generate crystals in the game. Which is a bit of a problem when you have to pay 2 on just one card to do anything. That's why I'm a bit worried about this card not. And it doesn't, as sort of Mitch said, it's not. I suppose you get to draw a card that's quite nice. It's not really that impactful enough on the board. Haste and first strike. The game you used to in older opuses, you could rely on your forwards doing the fighty work, but now it's not really important what the forward does. In terms of power and stuff, it's important about what it does when it enters the field and when it attacks, if it can blow stuff up, I think. So, yeah, I'm not sure about Furion. I also think the other Furion is probably better. And then if you're starting to play Rebels and Warrior sort of things, there is an old Furion Rebel, which was a legend as well, wasn't it? Where it comes in at 8k with haste and stuff for 2. Yeah. So you probably would try doing that if you're going to go for like a sort of tribal category 2 deck.
And that's a massive thing to me, is we're comparing it to an old Furion, which means that this card is nowhere near good enough, because that card came out in like Opus 6 or something.
I feel like it's that, yeah.
So that just shows how bad this is, that we're comparing it to a card like that and thinking that might even be better.
Yeah, and also I think with a lot of these cards, we've seen a lot of people talking about this Opus in general, about how some people saying there's not much point in it because the current sort of meta decks are so strong. It feels like a card that you're just never going to see anyone play, and then a few sets down the line, it's completely irrelevant. But we'll see.
Yeah,
maybe.
I'd love to be proven wrong on most of these cards, but
if it was easy to get crystals, then these things makes them much more viable, because you can have a load of crystals in your deck and it's more fun to do this. But at the moment, with the crystals being so scarce to generate, can't see this seeing anything.
Yeah, and even from a meta stance, like if you play this card and your opponent has Stern, that crystal that even if you've got one to threaten, it's not worth it, because you go to 8k, you boost by 3, you're still going to be less power than the 4k, well 9k, what was it, 13k Stern. So and it's just not very good. I don't think. I'd rather play anything else.
Cool. So moved on to the next element, which is ice. So this is the Terra. So Terra is 4 cost, another forward. Magitech Knight, obviously category 6, 8k. When Terra enters the field, you may reveal any number of summons from your hand. When you do so, choose up to the same number of characters as the summons you revealed, dull them and freeze them. When you cast a summon, choose up to 1 forward and up to 1 backup. Dull or freeze the former and dull or freeze the latter. Mitch, do you want to lead out on Terra?
Not really.
Okay.
Only because I'm not sure about this card. This is the one card I had no idea where to place. Like, based on history, this card will be shit. Any card that I've seen where it says play a card and then reveal stuff more in your hand later, like added on, normally means it's shit. Like, there's been a few cards where you've had that sort of situation and they've just not been able to see play. But there's always going to be the first, and this could be it. I don't think it will be, but I think this is, for me, this is a C tier, but I think this one is the one I'm going to be wrong about if it's actually good. Because, as I said, it does stuff after as well. Like, you could say you play your Terror down, you cast a 1-drop Shiva. Well, no, you reveal the 1-drop Shiva, you dull and freeze stuff, and then you cast it. And you've got so much value out of that. So, I don't know, like...
George, are you in the same? Are you in C as well, or...?
I'd put it in B.
B.
I think if it wasn't for the second bit, the when you cast summons bit, I would have made a D tier, to be honest. But I think it kind of saves it, because just being able to, even Zalera, you cast Zalera, you can dull something before Zalera triggers, surely, no? Like...
Well, no, you no, but you could reveal the Zalera when you play Terror, dull something, and then kill it.
Yeah.
And then dull something else. So you could do it that way, and that would work well.
Well, I mean, I don't mind this as a card. I think compared to some of the other cards in this Legend review, I think it's okay. But I put it in B. I just think it's better than some of the other cards.
Yeah, I put it in B as well. I think it's alright. Lots of text. It's all pretty decent text. Category 6 is always super relevant. The more 6, this is a massive 6 set. Lots of 6 cards. What I like about this one is you could probably put it in a couple of different elements. I'm thinking Earth, Ice. There could be something good there with summons. And Fire Ice 6. Mono Ice, yeah, as well. Fire Ice. You probably play the other Terror if you're going for the summon, the starter Terror. But yeah, I think it's pretty decent. It's a lovely art card as well. Is this going to be one of the full arts? Must be.
Honestly, I have no idea about the full arts. But
yeah, I think it's good. And as you said, Mitch, it could be one you're proved wrong on. I think this will either be really, really good, or again, it just won't be that relevant and won't see much play. But or even a Water Ice actually is another one. Earth Ice, Water Ice could be something.
Yeah, I said I'd love to be proven wrong on this, because I do like the idea of like the summon, summon decks, but I don't know. I said every time I think, there's a good card coming, when it comes to ice and summons, it's always not. But then some ice summons are a lot better this set than they have been previously. So maybe this is the time that it changes.
Yeah, as Laz says, it's an early game card. Turn 1 or 2 could mess up your opponent. He also said when we said Terror, he thought we said error, and that was close enough for him. So, not big fans. So far, yeah, we've had a few Legends that are mostly C tiers from everyone. Yeah, should we move on from Terror? Not feeling the love. Something's going to get us excited. So next one, Lightning. 1 cost, 9,000 power forward. Ravager and Joblessy, so double job again. Lightning, obviously category 13. So Lightning's effect is the cost required to cast Lightning is increased by 1 for each card in your opponent's hand. If you have 2 cards or less in your hand, Lightning gains 1,000 power and haste. And then at the end of each of your turns, if each player has no cards in their hand, Lightning deals your opponent 1 point of damage. Mitch, the last one. George, you can lead on Lightning.
Oh, I wish I wouldn't, but okay. So I think me not reading cards has hit, guys, but I put this in S tier. Maybe a mistake. I just think for like a 1-drop, I know again there's probably other Lightnings that are better, but I just like all of the text on it. I like that. I don't like the first bit actually, but I like the fact that if you've got 2 or less in hand, it gains haste. I like the fact that if neither player has cards in hand, it deals a point of damage. Like, I just like that.
Mitch, counter the S. I think you are.
Honestly, I'm not that far off. I think it's an A tier personally. I think the biggest selling point is that it says the cost to cast Lightning. So that means you can cheat it in with, say, the Crystal Exarch, the 4-drop that brings in equal to your ice backups. So you could play this basically turn 1 or 2 and set it up. And if your opponent has 2 or less in their hand, they're going to take a point of damage. I mean, if you're going to get really cheeky with it and they've got nothing in their hand, which they shouldn't do, but you could even just do 2 points of damage out of it. It's one of those aggro cards that I feel like could be really strong, and we know how strong just dealing your opponent a point of damage just off of an effect can be, because we've had the history of Sophie. So I think this is going to be good, and I think it's mainly because it's so easy to bring in different ways. So I'm excited to see it. I just hope it doesn't turn into one of those Sophie card. But as I said, I think it's very good.
So yeah, James Duff in the chat. He agrees with you. Easy to cheat. 1 CP forwarding. Welcome, James. Yes, for me, my score, I don't know. I really want to love this, but I just don't know because where the game is at the moment, unless you're playing really heavy discard, which isn't really that consistent anymore, all the best decks at the moment are about having 1 million cards in your hand. And if you're playing against like Fort Doga, this Lightning is going to cost you 6 off the bat, and it can't block Sophie, even though it's got haste. Like Sophie, just block it and kill it. And then you've got no cards in hand. I'm not sure. I don't know how often you're going to be able to have each player with no cards in hand to do that 1 point of damage. I don't know. I do agree with you. The cheating bit is quite nice because so 1 cost 9k. But yeah, I'm just not sure on this one. What are you thinking, Mitch? Lightning Ice aggro, or with Alcid and stuff like that, or is it like a mono ice discard? Or?
I think it's more mono ice because I think the best ice card this set is that 1-drop Shiva, the EX Burst one. If you've got like multiple Shivas in your break zone, because on EX Burst it discards 2, and that's just a sign of how much they expect you to be able to discard your opponent's hand. So even with, if your opponent plays Sophie, they're going to be getting 3 cards per turn, their draw and off of Sophie. But then they're going to also have to play stuff. So if you can keep that you theoretically are going to have to be discarding 2 per turn. And I think with all the ice discard stuff that they've got this set, including the removal, I think they might even be able to keep that up, and if you can hit the backups as well, then it's just going to be even better for ice. So I think ice, I don't want to say ice could become a thing this set, because we all know how bad ice has been recently, but this is the best chance it has to come back in recent sets, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so James in the chat also agrees haste 10k and ice is good. if you get the second ability, you've already won. So yeah, no, it's fair points. Fair points. And yeah, for me, I'm just on the fence because even when ice discard was like the big thing, I could never get it right and could never get them to discard their hand properly. So yeah, like I said, I do want to like this one. I think that it looks cool as well. I'm a big fan of the cards with like the game renders on them. They've got like the the game art and stuff in it, which is pretty cool. So yeah. Okay.
Something else to add to Lightning is there are a couple of cards in this set which, when you cast them, you have to discard your whole hand.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, someone plays an Arden and goes, oh, I'm going to try and mess you around. You go, okay, well, next turn I play a Lightning. If you're on 6 damage by that point, it's job done, isn't it? Or 5 damage even.
Yeah, that's quite cool.
But then also you can go both ways. Like if you've got a big hand and you want to get down to 0, you play an Arden, discard your hand.
Yeah.
And then
so
they leave Lightning because you've got loads of cards in hand, and then you trick them with an Arden or something. Yeah, that's quite cool. Yeah. The only thing I'd say that we'll talk about it later when we get to those sort of cards. I'm not sure discarding your hand is the right thing for Final Fantasy TCG because it's a game that's built on having, when cards in hand are like actual resource in this game. It's quite detrimental to go against that. But
to go even further, I think a card with this could potentially be Ace because then you're using your break zone, and it doesn't matter if you've got cards in hand then.
Yeah, let's not start George on Ace. We don't want to go down But yeah, we will move in to the next card.
Right, we're just about to move on to a Sky Pirate.
Yeah, you can have this one, George. So we're into Wind, which is Varn. So Varn, 4 cost forward, 8k. Wind, Sky Pirate job. The job, Sky Pirate forwards other than Varn you control gain. This forward cannot be blocked by a forward of cost 3 or more. When Varn enters the field, you may pay 1 wind. When you do so, activate all the job Sky Pirate you control. When Varn enters the field, you may pay 1 water. When you do so, choose 1 forward until the end of the turn. It loses 2,000 power for each job Sky Pirate you control. George, you're a big Sky Pirate fan. The floor is yours.
Yeah. I do like this card. However, because it's another van, I put it in B. I don't think it's terrible. I think there's a lot about it that is very good, and probably maybe I should be moving it up. But I just think there's too many Varns. Like, we just had a Varn which was a very good card, and now you're giving us this one. And I'm not a huge. I play. Well, you both know I play very kind of pure Sky Pirates, and I don't like having the same name twice in a deck, and this kind of makes me think that maybe I should run one of it, and I just don't like that about it.
Mitch, what do you think of Varn?
I agree. I think I've put it as B as well. I think this is a good card. Like, it removes 1, it activates everything, it even makes your stuff like unblockable for the most part. It's called Varn. I mean, I remember them saying early on in the I think it was in like Opus 12 when we first got the multi-elements, that they have messed up with the spacing of the multi-elements, and so we're going to get some cards that go together. And I imagine this is one of the things that they're referring to when it was Varn last set as a legend and Varn this set as a legend. They're both good cards. I think the multi-element is a better card. And as I said, I think it would be one of those ones where you'd have to try and find out what number works for you. Like, I think you want to run the multi-element as many as possible because you want to see it as early as possible. This one you probably run as a one-of. You've got kites to bounce it as well. As I said, it's a good card. It's just competing with a better card, which is the problem of the same name.
So yeah, I'm giving this a protest C, just because it's called Varn. And my protest C is not about this card; it's about the way they distribute cards in general. Because, as you said, we just had Legend Varn. It was very good, the multi-element one. It gave Sky Pirates like a proper engine. It was part of it. Put Sky Pirates on the map, all that sort of stuff. Really good support. Nice to see a more niche category and like tribal group get the support, and then the next set, just as Sky Pirate's about to get going, and then go and do the same thing again and give it another one. And it's just like, why? Just give it to something else, or even give it a different name. You could give this to something else and make Sky Pirates even better. It could be like a Balthier, or it could even be a Bash, because we don't really have any Bash. He could support the Sky Pirates. Yeah, but then he can't support himself, sort of thing. But he supports the others, that sort of thing. Yeah, it makes him too good.
This could be a Redus, you know. This could be a 6-drop Redus, you know. If you increased it by 2 and gave it a different name, it'd be fine. But
so that's why I'm not sure about Protest C for me. It is good though. I agree with what Ben is saying in the chat about the fact that George loves Sky Pirates but hates this card that lets them all swing under stuff. Obviously, not being able to be blocked by anything that costs 3 or more is mental, especially when you can spam out Sky Pirates. It's pretty lethal.
I think it is a good card. However, the back-to-back Varn irritates me, because the other one, I mean, the 6-drop is so much better than this one. It really is.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is, when we did the last review, we talked about the 6-drop Varn actually being more beneficial to non-Sky Pirate decks. So it was like an amazing win.
Whereas this one is a really good pure Pirate. This is pure tribal, but how many people are going to play Sky Pirate apart from me and maybe a couple of other people? You know, there's not that many that are going to do complete tribal, and it's just it is a good card, but
I think it's a very, like, the more I look at it, like, for example, you'll have 5 backups because you're playing Sky Pirates. You'll pay 4 to bring this in, and both of your autos will trigger. You stack it so you pay for the wind first, you activate all your backups, then you can pay the water to remove a forward. It's very strong because of, and also, you've got the Sky Pirates, but it can't be blocked. It covers all the weaknesses of the Sky Pirates that they had previously, but what people have noticed is, with their other Varn, is you don't need to play full Sky Pirates, and you'll probably have a better deck. And that's the problem that they've. If this came out first and then the multi-element one came out, I think people would be less annoyed.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So James in the chat doesn't like that it has no attack or protection, which the other one has. Thinks the water ability is really good. So
yeah, and it's also
that's the only thing Another thing I don't like about it is all enter the field stuff. Apart from obviously the field effect, but those 2 pays all when it comes in, so you're in effect paying 6.
I think this actually, and I need to look into it a little bit more, but I think this could be a mono wind Sky Pirate card, because you've got that backup that can make wind Sky Pirates tap for water.
Yeah, feline.
And I think that's the route that they want to go down with this card, and I think mono wind could actually be a big thing, because you'll have like Bismarck and everything like that, and you activate all Sky Pirates, so then you could tap everything in response and then activate everything. I think this is going to be a mono wind card. I actually might have been wrong on where I've placed this. Maybe it should go higher. I'm not going to change it but I think this is actually one that might be higher as well. Now I'm looking at it. Oh well.
What have you done?
I didn't think I'd be wrong about Sky Pirates.
Just before we started this, you were ranting about how much you hate Sky Pirates.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
the next wind legend is Kane. So 2-drop Kane, EX Burst on a legend. This is lovely stuff. He's a forward, 8k Dragoon, X Burst. When Kane attacks, select one of the 2 following actions. Draw 1 card. It will activate all the characters other than Kane you control. They're the downside. At the end of each of your turns, if you don't have a crystal, your opponent gains control of Kane. And George, you led on Varn. I'm going to hand over to Mitch to lead on Kane, and then George, you come straight in because I've got to run off. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Okay, no problem.
You lead the show for us, boys. Oh.
I mean, I can talk about this Kane for easily 30 seconds because I think this is dog shit. I actually can't work out why I'd want to ever play this card.
I actually feel the same way. I understand it's an EX burst, but it's a Dragoon in Wind, which... Yeah. And that last line.
Yeah, you don't play a card for an EX burst.
No, I know.
This card is, when it attacks, so immediately, it's got to be swinging, and you don't have haste on this card. Like, it's... The second one is... Like, you get your draw, which is nice, and you get your activate all characters, but there are other cards in Wind that can do all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I would rather just run any of those cards than this. Like, just there's even better Canes in Wind. I don't know. I just can't. I can't work this one out personally.
I'm guessing you put that in C then.
I think it was a solid bottom of the barrel C.
Yeah, the exact same for me. I think the only redeemable quality that it has is that it's an EX burst, but it's not. You know, you can't put a card in just because it's an EX burst.
Yeah,
and I was trying to think of a deck that I could put this in to make it okay, and just every time I tried, I was like, well, I'll just drop Kane from 3 to a 2 or 2 to a 1, and it didn't make sense. You know, it's just the draw's nice, the activating's nice, but like you said, there are so many other cards that do the exact same thing and better. You know.
Yeah, I was trying to think like activating all characters you control is, other than Kane, is nice. Like, don't get me wrong, and maybe maybe I'm looking at this as a mono Wind card when maybe it should be looked at as a different deck. Is this good in Earth Wind? Like, the thing is you got to think: can you tap all your stuff in other elements and then play it? Like, what I always see is this is like a Bismarck card, which means it's going to be a mono Wind card. Whenever I'm thinking of dulling everything, it's normally Bismarck, and then you can just get better cards in Wind, like a Bart's or something like that.
Yeah.
What did you go, Mitch? I'm back, by the way. Did you go C?
Yeah, I went C.
Oh. We both went C.
In that case, I should sweep in with my amazing review of Kane. No, I'll go C as well.
I said it's the on attack thing that ruins it for me. It's just, especially seeing as there's going to be a lot of 2-cost hate, I think, coming out.
I've gone C as well. I don't know what you've said about this, but for me, it's just not particularly exciting. Draw a card, everything can do that now. Activate all characters, everything does that in Wind anyway. It doesn't have haste, which for me, you've got the attack ability.
Yeah, exactly.
You could probably give this haste and it still wouldn't be ridiculous. So yeah, triple C's. What are people saying? I think people might like this a bit. Ben's a big Dragoon fan. Ben plays Dragoon, wants to like it because it's a Dragoon. It's almost as bad as Ace.
Let's not trigger everyone.
Ben, be careful.
James agrees, yeah, why is it only on attack? It is Legend Wind Unit all over again.
Yeah.
So
I said it. When Wind does bad Legends, they're stinkers.
Yeah, if a Wind Legend is bad, we're all in trouble. There's no hope. Right. Just to warn you, Tom and Mitch, we have both filled our C category. You have to start being more positive now. George,
it's so easy to fill them.
George is nicely spread. You've got S and A's and B's and C's. So you're in a nice position. First timer, we've messed up.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means that's cool. We're into Earth. Maybe I should. I never lead on cards because I'm the host and I can copy all your answers. So who led on Kane? It was Mitch, wasn't it? So We normally have an extra. We normally have 4 on these, and then it spreads the thing. But it's fine. George, you're on then for Rydia. So I need to read it. So 2 cost. They're all forwards. I think all these legends this set. There's no backups. We don't get many backup legends, but you usually get a couple of summons. But no, all forwards this time. So forward 5k power. It's a summoner. Category 4. If Rydia is dealt damage by your opponent's summon or ability, the damage becomes 0. Instead, when Rydia or a Category 4 character enters your field, place 2 growth counters on Rydia. And then for a 0 cost action ability, cast 1 summon of cost equal to or less than the number of growth counters placed on Rydia from your hand without paying the cost. You can only use this ability once per turn. Just to confirm, so I haven't played Final Fantasy IV, but does Rydia grow really big?
She actually gets older. She spoilers for Final Fantasy IV. She disappears from a ship. I think she goes to Summoner Island. Then time works differently, so she turns from I think it's like a 4-year-old into a 16-year-old within the game.
So it's like growth. It's like experience, but they didn't want to say experience because of Palum.
Yeah. Well, the growth will be because she's getting older, I imagine.
Yeah, it's just more like
she's getting a stronger summoner.
Yeah, it's like the experience growth sort of thing. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. George, tell me what you think of Rydia.
Right, I think I'm actually gonna. I know I said I wasn't gonna swap anything. I might actually swap something. So I have put her in B, but I think I need to swap her with Furion. To be honest, I think she's actually all right. I mean, apart from the fact that she's a 2-drop and 5k, I think everything else on that reads quite nicely. You kind of do have to play quite a few 4 characters and make sure that she's one of the first out, but I don't think that's a problem particularly. I quite like her.
Okay, so sort of middle road, so you're thinking B could have been an A.
Well, yeah, I think I may swap her and Furion and move her up to an A class.
Okay. Let me hand over to Mitch, and then this might help you with your swap.
Tom, go ahead first.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay.
Yeah, because I want to really go in on this card.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'm going to give this an S tier rating because I think this is really awesome. It's in Earth, which is an element I like, and it's got built-in protection, which is good. So, 2 cost 5k forwards, quite easy to get rid of, but now you can't with ping and stuff, so you have to properly kill it. I think it's amazing the fact that you don't lose your counters when you do the action. Like what you do with the crystals, you have to spend them all. These stay on Rydia. I think that is amazing because you can just build them up, and then the more powerful you get, the more you build up. However, the reason I think it's really, really, really good, which is giving it S tier, is I think it's easy. Sort of what George was saying is to think about how many counters can you get on Rydia. But actually, I think even with about 3 counters, the card is nuts because there's a load of really good 2 and 3 cost summons which are well worth cards. And the things I'm thinking about, go on, what are you saying, George?
She gets 2 counters per character, including herself. So she comes down.
Comes in, she's got 2. One more
2 straight away. So that's.
And I think you're rocking with that. So the things I'm thinking of.
Well, that's your Jimbo range, isn't it?
Well, your Jimbo range. The things I'm more thinking of is sort of the awkward ones in Earth, maybe in Fire, like Amaterasu and Mist Dragon, cards you traditionally sort of you want to hold on to and wait for your best slot to hit them, and it can be a bit awkward sometimes. You've got to leave a backup up because it's their 3 costs, and if you're playing against an Earth or Fire opponent and they've left the backup up, they've probably got a Mist Dragon or an Amaterasu in hand, so that becomes a bit more awkward as well. But this, you can just sling it out with no cost. It makes those 2 summons even better than they already are. I think this is just really, 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 really good. You can put it in off Fenrir as well. You can keep bringing it back. Yes, very good. Mitch, you said you wanted to go in on it. I'm hoping it's the way I've gone and not the other way. But
right, so I'll preface this to say this is S tier.
Okay.
This is probably the best card in the set.
I was meant to get an S tier like accent when someone goes S tier. Got to spice it up a bit. But I haven't. I'll do it next time.
So what I like about this is I think this would be very good in Ice Earth. Like you've got a absolute bucket ton of Final Fantasy 4 characters in there. So you've got Harley, Edward, all of them. You play this, you play your big summons. You've got Go now, where you can cast an action, do an action, and then you can cast another summon from hand, and you can actually just start like really spamming them. And I think that would be a really fun, interesting deck, and I think it would be really fun to see. However, this is not where we're going to see the card. This card purely will be in
This is
Water,
toxic. This is
Earth.
toxic Doga card. Yeah.
This is Water, Earth, Doga card immediately. Like you're going to get your free Hecatons. You can run Sith. All of these are free cost from just playing Rydia. What's worse is Ursula is an FF4 card, which also goes into the deck and spams as well. You can play Rydia, you can play Ursula, you can now cast your 4-cost summons for free. This card slots in so easily and is going to cause so many headaches for so many people because it also doesn't die to like AoE bit ping like say like Athena or something like that, where that would force an Ursula to kill something else and and other things would just die, like Sarah would die. Like you'd either have to kill Ursula or you'd kill your Sophie. Rydia just stays there because she doesn't take any damage. And this card is gonna make that deck so much harder to deal with, and that's a big worry for me. But otherwise, it'd be great in Ice Earth.
It's a fantastic card. It's very fun. But yeah, you're right. It does make
it's not going to be used
toxic
like that.
Water really bad. It can be very strong.
And all these summons, like you could get like a summon in hand, and be like, well, I don't want to cast this because I've got other stuff I want to play. So is it Mashery or whatever? Mashery it could potentially be stuck on that, but this will just stop it and just be like, right, I'll just play it for free. Sorry, I don't really care. Like it means nothing.
You can play it for free to stock up the Mashery,
yeah, and that's the thing. It's just going to make this deck so much harder to deal with, and it's so strong because of it. So, yeah, as I said, Ice Earth guys, play that instead, please.
This is the set where there's lots of great new ideas that no one's going to play because you don't need to.
Yeah.
Because you play for Water. Aslan says Calbrainer is all you need. That must be category 4. They're quite decent actually, the Calbrainers. You could have James says yank Ursula Rydia and you can now cast a free Remora. Yeah.
Yeah, this might push it into a more monk version because as James says, you can add like Yang into it then. But
that's a sign of a healthy meta that you can play Earth Water in 2 different types and do basically the same thing. Auto win.
It's a nice varied meta. Whatever Earth Water deck you want to play, it's viable.
You could be a bit different. Cool. Okay. Well, we hyped up a card at least, but we did then completely. We went back down the negative alley. Okay, let's move on to the next Earth Legend. Rubble Ackbell sounds like a Star Wars character. So he's a 4-drop, 8k forward, job Black Mage, Warlord, which I think is pretty cool. Category 11. And when Rubble Ackbell enters the field, you may pay 1 crystal. When you do so, choose 1 forward or monster, break it. At the beginning of main phase 1, during each of your turns, choose 1 backup in your break zone, add it to your hand. Who went on Rydia? I think it was George. So Mitch, it's your turn. Rubble Ackbell.
Yeah, I think I like this card because it's one of those. It's a weird one because it's FF11. So obviously you think immediately, well at least I do immediately think like Rampair and stuff like that. You got Star Sybil to search it. It's a good category to be in FF11. It's got the enter the field. And you can break just a forward or monster, which is good. Like if you've got the crystals, I imagine you can build it in a way that you can at least get 1 of them. Maybe this is the only thing. Like it'll be in a deck with Lilith, maybe, so it should work out. And then it's one of those cards that it needs to be answered, otherwise you're just going to keep generating value. And it's a backup. So if you are playing Rampair, you can get the Rampair that you've just broke back with it. Is Rampair any good anymore? That's the problem. I don't think it is. Like, the big thing about this meta is that it's going to be, can it compete with Water, Earth, and maybe even Sky Pirates? I would say Chocobos, but I'm not going to because I think that will annoy Ben. I just think that Rampair's had its time, and I don't think it's going to be like. The problem with these crystal things is that you're going to have to set up a crystal, then you're going to have to kill something. Like, you're going to have to then play a second card to kill something. So what you need to do that is time, and I don't think aggro decks are going to give you that time to do that. So, like,
What have you scored him?
Know. I've put him in A.
B. Oh, you put him in A. Okay.
No, I've put him in A, and I think that's more through rose tinted glasses because I like Rampair more than I actually like this card.
Okay. Do you want to bring back Rampair? Pick him up.
Yeah, I'll probably swap Varn in this, but as I said, this is actually Rampair, so this always goes up a rung.
George, where are you at?
I've put this in A. I think it's a really solid card. I like the fact that it doesn't deal damage, it just point blank breaks something. I like the fact that main phase ones, it brings you back a backup. And, it is just regenerating CP and, constantly doing that. And trying to think of what sort of deck it'd work best in, probably would be quite good in a Rampair deck. But, yeah, I just like it.
Maybe your Earth Lightning 15 with like the King's Glaives and stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking
where
that.
You chuck them in and then you get him back.
Yeah, I was thinking Earth Fire Samurais as well. Because it's quite good for anything that stops damage. Like the Rydia, for example. If that Rydia comes up against my Samurais, it doesn't matter if I've got that Scion on board. Like, I can't get rid of the Rydia. So as soon as this comes down, yeah. I like it. It's got a couple of different outs, but
yeah, I've given it a B. I think I can't even remember what other cards come in. So I might change this one. But I'm giving it a B. I think it's good. Yeah, all the things you said are all good. It's a little bit bland. It's like not massively powerful. But when it comes in, Crystal's still a bit of a problem, as we already discussed before. I do like they're getting back a backup each turn. The only thing is he's not like overpowered or has no protection as well, so you have to wait a turn to get something back.
The thing about him is he's that kind of card.
I think it's pretty cool though.
He's that kind of card that you kind of look at and go, do I need to deal with him? And the answer is probably yes. Once you put someone in a position where they have to get rid of what isn't ultimately an amazing card just to get rid of something else first, it's just that's when the problems happen.
No, I do think it's pretty cool. I think, it's a nice idea to have a deck built around sort of getting backup.
Tom's just put 10p in his meter. We're back underway.
I don't know if it's back on yet.
Yeah, it is.
Right, we're back on. Apologies, we had a power cut. It might happen again. Who knows? But what we need to do previously on Get Back. Where were we? We're talking about Rubble Ackbell. Yes, we're back in the building. Let's go. Looks like we all had a lovely time having a lovely community chat in the chat. I have to go back for all the things. Yes, we're on Rubble Ackbell. I think we all generally said it was good. Let's look at what you guys said. Planet Protector, Earth Wind. So that's Aerith, Planet Protector. Getting that back. That's a good idea. I like that. It's fun old Earth. Rich rage inducing, yeah. So one of our team members, Rich, hates Mono Earth because of all the backup ramp. So this will be lovely for that. That's good. And then generates value. Deal with me or you'll regret it, which means it's good. Wind arguments. Oh, this is you, bitch. Okay, wind arguments better than Rampair.
Oh yeah, I'm just talking.
Go-Go is the best card in the set. Yes, he's not a legend, but he probably is very good. Mono Ice Smith. Right.
Just trying to convert people to Ice Earth, so then
Get everyone
ignore
away
me.
from. We did have this talk before. Actually, the best way to fix this game is to convince everybody that something is ridiculously better than Sophie, and even though it isn't, and then everyone will jump on that bandwagon. But cool, we'll move into, so generally, I get all your scores, A, B, A, B. Okay, so generally good for Rubble Ackbell, which is cool. We'll move into Lightning, so Nyx. George, you can have Nyx because you're big. Your big friends are Sky Pirates, Kingsglaive, and Noctis,
Samurais.
I guess. Samurai. Everyone likes Samurais because they're good. Probably Kingsglaive and...
You can guarantee I've got a 15 deck with me, and I've got a Sky Pirate deck with me.
Go on then. Tell us how great you love Nyx.
So, before the other Kingsglaives got added, this Nyx card was maybe B. I mean, it's a solid Nyx card. Now with the new Kingsglaives, I'm kind of regretting only putting it A, because I think this is such a strong card. I mean, my 15 deck is slightly leaning more to Mono Lightning now, which I don't really mind, but I think this is a really solid card.
Mitch, do you like this one?
Yeah, I can't remember what I put it as.
It can't be a C.
No, I think I did put it in B.
I thought you might, yeah.
And mainly because of the targets that it gets. Like, you can get... I like that you can get Libertus. You play remove 5, play Libertus, you activate Nyx, you activate 2 backups. That seems good to me. The plain Regis, the Earth Lightning one, seems like it's a lot of hard work, to be honest. It's, unless you'd pair it with Kef Girl, but I think a lot of people have had George's idea where you should go down Mono Lightning, because all of the Kingsglaives are Lightning as far as I'm aware. It's the 15 that's the Earth.
Yep.
And the last one is the Dark Legend of this set, and I like that you can do it during your opponent's turn. Playing, without going into Arden too much, playing Arden on your opponent's turn is a lot better than playing it on your turn. So I think it has potential, but as I said, it's the big problem is removing 5. Like some of the Kingsglaives, I think there was one that was mill 3 and then it puts itself into the break zone.
And it returns something to your hand as well.
Yeah, it gets a forward back. Yeah, that's a real good card, and that will really help this deck and this card. But as I said, it's just the 15 forwards is a letdown for me. Like, because you want to play a 5 cost, you can play your 4 cost, but then why bother? Like, you want to maximise the value. So as I said, it was just a fit, like looking through the 15s, and I think you can play Verstale, but I think that's going to be a completely different deck, because I think all but one of the Kingsglaives are 5 or less. So, or 4 or less. So, I don't know. As I said, it's just more. It's a good card. It's the 15 forwards that let it down for me.
Yeah, I put it in a B as well. Similar sort of sentiments to you, Mitch. I suppose the good thing with the break zone stuff is they can't respond to it if you've already paid. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's quite good. So you can't. Whilst Mist Dragon is a bit of a problem, they have to sort of preempt it.
And even if you preempt it, you can respond with. So if you ever want to do it, you're just doing it.
Yeah.
So this one isn't scared of Mist Dragon at all.
No. The problem one of the main problems I have with it is around the because you got to make this good, you've got to downpack your deck through with Kingsglaives. So then it's like George said, it becomes a very sort of mono deck, and then you lose out on the sort of category 15 side of it. So it makes it a little bit nichey and not that flexible. But it's alright. It'd be interesting to see, what people do with it if there's a good Kingsglaive deck. It's a bit weird that Kingsglaive is getting all this support. I think I saw someone else comment this on the sort of general Facebook chats about like how they've not done more like Ignis and Gladiolus and stuff like that when you've got all these 50s. We've had quite a few Noctis come out, but sort of the actual main party characters from that game haven't really had too much to say about it. You could even argue there could be then like a 15 starter deck as well, where they had like refresher. We've had like more 7s and stuff like that. So a bit weird. So yeah, not a bit weird why Kingsglaive suddenly coming out. Maybe just he did some lightning stuff and that's all he could think of in terms of like a lightning tribal stuff. So yeah, it seems pretty good. Seems alright. Not too exciting really for me. So I'll give it a B. Not much from the chat. So obviously not big Knicks fans. Move on then. Lady Lilith. So 2-drop. Oh, I didn't read out Nyx's abilities, did I? Apologise. So Lady Lilith, 2-drop, 5k forward, category 11. Job is also Lady Lilith, so that's a job and a name, which is a bit weird. A bit like Bob the Builder, I guess. That is his name and his job. Remove 1 forward other than Lady Lilith from the game. Gain 1 crystal. You can only use this ability once per turn. Spend 1 crystal. Choose 1 lightning forward. It gains haste until the end of the turn. You can only use this ability once per turn. Then pay 2 crystals. Choose 1 forward of cost 5 or less. Break it. Mitch, I think you're leading on Lady Lilith.
Alright. I like this card a lot. I think it feels like it should be mono because of that choose 1 lightning forward. I think it is good enough that it could fit into other decks. The big thing about this card is that they've introduced these crystals and not an easy way to generate multiple of them, or like a reoccurring generation. Like you've got the backups, they do their job and then that's it, they're done. Whereas this, like, as long as you keep playing forwards, you're going to keep getting crystals, and I think that's what makes this card very strong. The break one is again very strong. Even given I really wish it said choose 1 forward, give it haste, but it's still a strong card. I think every time I look at this card, like you can get it back with Aranea. It's all in element and stuff like that. It's very strong. That said, I haven't put it in S. I've put it in A because while I think I think this card will be good. I think this card will be better in the future when we've got more crystal cards.
If we get more crystal cards.
Yeah, no, I think we've got them for the next 3 sets. I think, but at the moment the crystals aren't like the effects aren't that amazing. Like, especially in Lightning, I don't think I think they're the best for generating crystals, and I don't think they've got that many good crystal abilities. You've got that summon that reduces by 7k and gives something 7k. It's like, okay, like it's not amazing. So I don't know, I'll just like this card. That's what's really hurt this, is that the element has let it down than this card being not S tier.
Yeah, it's weird with Lightning because a lot of their legend cards are always only affect Lightning. And it's like a real shame because then they just disappear because you can't do anything interesting with them. I'm trying to think of like a deer, like a really cool card, but completely restricted to Lightning. What was the ones we had where like you tap 5 backups? It did stuff.
Oh,
I forget the name of it.
Sakura?
Sakura, yeah, there's a couple of Sakuras. Zemus. They're all like super Lightning focused. It's a bit weird. George, have you gone B or C or A?
I have gone.
I've
gone
B
B
here, actually.
I think I've got one of each left.
Yeah,
apart from
very
C.
good.
I've got 2 C's left. I think this is B. I think the reason it's B is because of the lightning forward, and I'm not sure how these crystals are going to play out and how much of a big effect they're really going to have on games. I mean, I'm happy to be proven wrong when Mitch absolutely slaps me about with a pure crystal deck, but I think it's a 2-drop. It's 5k. It's not that strong. I understand that you could remove a forward, but Yeah, it's just it's good. It just doesn't seem as good as some other cards, I think.
Yeah, I've given it an A. That said, I'm starting to see some problems with my allocations here. But yeah, I've given it an A, and purely because it generates crystals, which is sorely lacking at the moment for a new mechanic. I know you said, Mitch, that you don't think the crystals are that good when you spend them anyway, but at least this one can actually get you some, which is good. So it gets an A just for being an interesting mechanic, and you can actually use the mechanic now. It's a shame it's limited to lightning stuff for the most part.
As I said, I'm looking through the lightning cards now, and based on FF decks, it's the only card that can actually spend crystals is Lady Lilith in lightning, or that Remora summon.
Oh really? So you're only getting crystals for this card, so when they kill it, your whole deck plan is gone.
Yeah,
if that's what you're basing it around.
That's what makes me think.
Like, it's a big problem, isn't it?
Yeah, you just pair it with something else, because like Rubble would appreciate a Lilith removing something, because what you can do is, because I'll just let me make sure I read this. Yeah, so when Rubble enters the field, you could even it's not the best play, but you could even remove Rubble in response to the trigger. And then, because you pay for the crystal at resolution, so you
bring Rubble in to break something, then remove him to get the crystal.
Yeah,
and pay for it.
So as I said, it's an option, and if it saves you the game, it's going to be worth doing. It's just, as I said, it's just a shame that every element could have done with like a Lady Lilith, to be honest, and
probably not even a legend.
Yeah,
like
just something.
A hero could be one of the heroes. Could have been a crystal generator, something.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it's an amazing card, but because it gains crystals, I'm rating it higher. As I said, even though it seems to be a lightning focused one, I think you said you can use this if you're going for like a crystal themed deck, which would be quite fun because it's a new mechanic. Even though it's probably not going to be very good, you could pair this as a way of generating crystals, which is quite cool. No protection, quite easily killed. It's a big problem for this card. So I don't think it's going to be very good, but I'll score it well because it's at least on theme with the crystals.
But as I said, you got RNA to bring it back. It's very easy to bring back with lightning as well.
Cool. So I'm starting to see a problem with my allocations. So I'm moving into water now. I've only got A's and S's left. Mitch, you're quite well spread. George is very well spread. I'm going to have to shift some because I don't think I can give Porum an A, but let's go for Porum. 2-drop, forward 4,000 power, Apprentice Mage, category 4. At the end of each of your turns, place 1 experience counter on each job Apprentice Mage you control, the same as Palum. For each experience counter, Porum gains 1,000 power. Counter placed on Porum. And then the 0 cost action ability, choose one forward of cost 5 or less. It loses all abilities until the end of the turn. If 3 or more experience counters are placed on Porum, it also becomes 1,000 power until the end of the turn. You can only use this ability once per turn. I can't remember who led on the last part. Mitch, I know you're quite into this one. Well, you're building a deck around it, whether you're into it or not. Do you want to go on Porum?
I thought that you could build a deck around this card, and I thought, fire, if you can get the 3 counters on this, makes it 1k, and then even Palum can ping it off, and that would actually be a good combo. Again, that's not what's going to happen with this card. It's a water card, it's a 2 cost, it's going in Earth Water, and I've actually put this card as an S. Because
Jesus.
The power of it just coming down for free, and it basically doing a Kukulane, turning off an ability, that will force your opponent to do something. They either let it happen and they lose the forward. Basically, you've got a vanilla forward. Like if you would do this on Sophie, she just becomes a 4k forward. Like, that's all she will be. She will not deal you damage at the end of the turn. If you do this on Stern, they need to do something straight away, otherwise they lose Stern for that turn. I think it's extremely underrated how powerful this effect is. And the fact is, it's for free, and you can do it on either player's turn. It's going to be... I feel like this card is going to see a lot of play.
Yeah, that's mad, actually. I haven't read this properly. I've dismissed it because I've gone on with the assumption of that it does the same stuff as Palum. But you're right, then you don't need to worry about counters with that first effect.
No.
This is very good. Right, George, follow that wisdom. Where are you going with Palumporum? I feel like you've gone C and you haven't read it properly.
I have gone C, yeah. But yeah, I'm probably an idiot for that. I just think
It's quite convincing, Mitch, isn't he?
I think it's better than Palum, sorry. But I personally don't think it's a very good card. I understand that last ability bit, yeah, it's good, but it's just going to get smacked around. And I think there are so many other cards I'd rather play than that. And I think for that reason I put it in C.
Okay.
But I 100% understand where Mitch is coming from.
Yes, I mean, I just haven't really... I dismissed these when it came out, I didn't really look at them, but seeing as I've only got A's and S's left, I'm going to have to put this in A. But now I'm quite happy, because actually that's nuts. Yeah, actually, I really... You've opened my eyes, Mitch, because that turn-off abilities is really powerful. And the fact it's so cheap to get it in, you can... You don't even have to play for it. It's almost like a... you hold it in your hand as like a tech. It's like a tricky forward you couldn't deal with.
Yeah, as I said, this doesn't need anything to go with it. You just play it down. Like, even like the old Justola, it's like, cancel my ability. And it's like, well, you can't cancel any summon, so it just stays there, and then you can kill it off. It's
really cool.
It's so strong.
It's really strong. I mean, just thinking of how many games you play where you have a sticky forward or something you can't really deal with very well, and then all of a sudden you could turn off the Rydia as well. That we're talking about how hard it might be to get rid of the Rydia, and it's smacking you up. So turn it off and then get rid of it really easily. Yeah,
and you force them to use the summon. Like one of the things that I always will remember is it happened a few times during a couple of practice testing with Hein, the dark card, and at the time Wind Water was very popular, and they had Ash, and every time they'll choose Hein, and they'll just look at me and be like, "Are you going to discard a card just so he doesn't lose his abilities?" And the amount of times I was like, I actually have no idea what I've got to do here, and this card will present the same problem as what that Ash did, and it's probably even better than the Ash because, as I said, it's cheaper, it costs nothing. I said I see this card probably being just anywhere.
Yeah, no, I've underestimated it. It's interesting, very interesting. Actually, that's an interesting point on that about Ash as well, because that's also one of the legacy legends. This set, which is also explained because I've been panicking the whole stream because there's 11 of 17 cards, and I'm thinking, what have I clicked on? But because there's the legacy ones, so that explains that. But yeah, the Ash has got the turn off ability. So maybe Mr. Kageyama is trying to tell us something and not to worry.
It's such a good card. It's not only is it good in the Doga deck, it's good against the Doga deck. Like, for example, if you turn off Mastery, they have to choose to bounce a card then and there. And it's just like, you've put that, just not when they want to do it. Like, you can do that during your main phase, turn off Mastery. They'll bounce a forward on their turn, and then it doesn't happen during combat, which is a big thing. So, as I said, it stops Sophie, it stops the point of damage. As I said, I love this card.
Sophie's cool because you can just, if you've got like a board wipe or like even like the Titans and stuff like that, which drops in, you just turn it off.
Yeah,
you got a problem one. You got even when they had like the X-Def mannequins, you got a huge mannequin. If you're huge X-Def, you just turn. Oh, he's cost 6 only. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, okay, forget that. But the theory of it, there's always one that you have your big board wipe and you can't get through it, and you just turn it off, and that's mad. Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we will see this a lot, actually. Cool. Let's look at the...
because I'll play it.
Yeah. I'm going to hate this. Okay, so the next water legend is Mog Dick. He always gets the 6 bracket on him, doesn't he? Poor old Mog. So Mog is another forward, 2 cost 5k When he's a warrior stroke Moogle. When Mog 6 enters the field, you may pay 1 crystal. When you do so, draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card from your hand. At the end of each of your turns, choose up to 1 forward other than Mog. During this turn, if you have drawn 4 cards or more, return it to its owner's hand. If you have drawn 6 or more, put it into the break zone instead. And he has a special, so we don't see too many specials these days. Water Harmony, special, and then 1 water. Draw 2 cards. You can only use this ability once per turn. George, I think you're leading on Mog. Before you start, Mitch, can you just clarify, does the start turn draw 2 cards count in the 4 and 6?
Yeah, that counts towards it.
Yeah, that counts towards it. Cool, George, go for Mog. What do you think?
He's okay. I don't think he's legend worthy. But he's okay.
Okay, I'm already typing into the C bracket for you.
I've put him in the C, yeah. I mean, again, I'm sure Mitch is going to turn around and tell me that I'm completely wrong on this, but I don't think he's that great.
This is a very Mitch card, actually. So maybe Mitch, you should jump in and bail
I'll
us
come
out.
to his defence and say I think he is mediocre. I think George is right. The one thing that I think a lot of people are forgetting about this card is he reduces the cost of the Ice Umaru by 2. So you could play this, pay 1 crystal, and hopefully cycle for an Umaru. And if you're on 5 backups, you tap 2, and then you draw. You will technically get an extra card for that from the paying the crystal, because you're discarding 1, so you're gaining 1 to your hand, and that will give you the 3 CP from your backups and the 1 that you've drawn to play that Umaru. And I think that's where this deck is going. Is it needs it's an ice water deck, because there's also that what's it called, the Cloud of Darkness, that has a similar idea where it's like the more cards you draw, the better, the cheaper it becomes. I think that's the deck for it. I don't know if it is a good deck, but I put it in B. I think I have. Let me just double check that. Yeah, I put it in B.
Yeah, you've still got plenty of spaces.
Yeah, I think I put it in B just because it has the potential, but I don't know if it's actually going to be that good. It's drawing cards, is nice always, but it can, as I said, it can bounce stuff. And I also like that you can
bounce your own.
Yeah, you choose 1 forward and then you put it into the break zone. It's very rare that water has that effect. It's normally your opponent selects the forward, and that's what's the big difference. So I said I do like it quite a lot because of that, but I just don't like. And also, if you're drawing 6, you've got to draw 4 extra cards. If you do this,
well, you draw 2 off the crystals, you're already at 4. So when it enters the field that turn, you should be able to get a good chance of getting your 6 off.
Yeah, but then also it's, if you want to do this effect regularly, say you do it in 3 times in a row, you've theoretically drawn 18 cards.
You could be in a good spot there.
Yeah, when you think of it like that, I'm not sure how often you're going to get this card. So
absolutely not. But that's it. Again, the fallacy of my ratings wasn't really paying attention. I've had to put him in A. So I better talk him up. What is he good? Yeah, I think he's alright. I think he's good. I like the idea of water ice. That's something I've been sort of wanting to. That sort of interests me at the moment because it's a bit different. I think it could be alright. I know we've had people on the past. Alex in particular, he didn't like water ice. Didn't see it as being viable for a long time. But yeah, I think it's good. I like the moral argument stuff. I haven't really dived too deep into. I think he's okay. I don't think he is really an A, but I've had to put him in there because I've filled up all my spots. But yeah, I think he's alright. Pretty cool.
He's a warrior at least, you know.
A warrior, yeah. What's a warrior? A warrior supports fire, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then water fire it's quite good for category 6. So it might be okay. What was the Moogle with water ice, wasn't it? That Moogle Lord thing. King Moogle. He plays Moogle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he does.
So then,
Maybe that's the route with
yeah,
it.
maybe it's right. And let me just clarify some, because this is an end of a turn effect. If you're in, say, water, you play in the Laxer, who draws a card, or Sophie that draws a card. Can you stack them first, so you draw their cards? Or it has to be selected at the end.
So Mog 6, it'll be choose a forward, and at resolution, it will be what the effect is. So if you've drawn 5, and then you've got Lakshmi, you will draw the 6th, and then you'll get the 6th.
Okay.
The 6th
If you've got
effect.
Lakshmi and Sophie, for example, you'd be able to draw 2 cards off them and get Mog 6 card effect.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's good. Probably shouldn't have been an A, but yeah. Could be alright. I don't think I'm good. We'll see. I mean, there's so much 6 in this set. You can give it a go and see if it works. Water Ice is the 6th search, doesn't it? It's Castellian Sid. Banana Sid.
Yeah.
He's affectionately known.
There's quite a few bits in there. And you've also got that Sarah, the 5-drop, that searches a Moogle.
The Ice Sarah, yeah. Ice Sarah.
Yeah, so I said there's a few things.
Alright. We'll move into light. So we've got 2 left then, isn't it? Light and dark. So Noctis is the light character. I think Mitch, you're going to have to lead on Mog, because I think even though George is probably jumping at the bit because he loves a Noctis. So
no, I'm happy to wait to the end for this one.
You want to wait till the end? Okay. 2 cost Noctis, 6k. He's a job prince, which is highly relevant at the moment. Category 15. So Noctis can form a party with forwards of any element. When a party you control attacks, select one of the 5 following actions. If 3 or more forwards in the party, select up to 2 of the 5 actions instead. So the actions are: choose 1 forward, deal it 8,000 damage. Choose 1 monster, break it. Choose 1 character, Palum freeze it. Noctis gains haste until the end of the turn. Draw 1 card. There's a lot to take in there. Mitch, Noctis, you have got A or B left.
Yeah. I've put it in A, and I'm not sure about this card. Like, there's a few decks that I've had the idea for. Like, I think Water Lightning could maybe make a comeback with this, because you've got a lot of 15s in here. You've got, I don't know. I said it's like this, that is whenever I think of a party deck, that's always the one that I go to, and you spam loads of forwards. This will get multiple triggers, and it will make it like a good card. The problem is those decks need to set up. So as I said, I've really going through this. I've really seen people saying that the big difference between the big meta decks and everything else, and this needs to be able to fit into something that will make a big impact. And I can't see what deck it is. Like, I also thought about the Bart's Bocco deck, where you get the 1 cost from your deck and play another forward, and then you could do Umaru. Luna Freya can even come out of this and protect the Noctis.
The backup Luna Freya?
No, there's a new 1-drop.
Oh, the 1-drop for the Bocco. Okay, for the Bart's Bocco, yeah. I can't remember what he does. Does he have protection for Noctis?
Yeah, I think it's you choose a 15 forward, and it can't be chosen by abilities, and gains 2k power or something like that. While and it can only attack if Noctis is on the field or something like that. I think that could be a route for it as well, but then I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of setup for this card. When it's good, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a real problem to deal with. But it needs to be. I feel like it needs to be paired with water, and I feel like you need to run 3 of it because of. So you need to run 3 of it, and because you need to run 3 of it, you need to pair it with water, because then you can discard them. I mean, there are other elements that can discard them, but this is a big thing. As I said, I've really struggled with this card. This is the card I'm not sure on.
Okay. I mean, you want it to be water because he's a prince, so you got the princess search.
Yeah.
and there was a lot of party effects in water as well. Yeah, George, you wanted to go last. I'm going to give this an S because I think it's cool. I really like the look of it as well. I think this art was on a Japanese tournament. I think they got sleeves with this on, or a mat or something. You know, and there's a lot of talk about Japanese tournaments, like Japan. I forget all of the cool swag. So they've got. I think they had regalia sleeves and stuff, which was cool as well. So that's cool. But yeah, I really like the art. I think the effects are all very good. And the fact it's a light card is slightly annoying, but I think it's quite cool because you don't play Stern and stuff, so you can sort of try and branch out a bit, try and come up with something a bit different. No, it's not. It's not a reason it should be strong, but for me it is. So yeah, I do like it. I just think it's quite fun. Lots of options there. They're all good effects.
And as Ben said, it can go in chocobos. So like in all the mono decks, it can just go in and just like once they've spammed the board, you drop Noctis. You're going to get so much value out of Noctis. As I said, it's just setting up the board is the important part.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to add in terms of parties, we've just had the Avalanche starter deck, which is all about party attacking. So if you're doing this on top of the, you've got Biggs and Jesse and stuff. If you've got a big party, they just do 2 or 3 forwards in that. They've all got haste off Barrett, and then you can add this on top. It's going to be every time. That's one of the things of those Avalanche is that it's every time the party with Avalanche attacks. If you're in that, it sounds like it could be quite dirty because you can get loads of effects off. I think it just seems like quite a fun card. And what was the light card that had all the effects on it before, where it was every element? Yuri. Kind of like a sort of buffed Yuri, which is pretty cool. I think Yuri was quite popular at the time, wasn't it? Even though it was mono wind, really. But I think it's cool.
Be where this goes as well.
Yeah, lots of fun options. I like that it's got, they're giving it a bit of every element so that you can put it in everything. So yeah, very cool, fun card. Gives you a lot of options. It's a slight shame it's light, but it works with what it's trying to do. So S for me. George, you wanted to go last?
Yeah.
Go on then.
So I really like this card. I do. But there's a couple of things that let it down. First of all, it's a 15 card I'm not going to play in my 15 deck. Secondly, it's the third Noctis that we've got back-to-back-to-back sets now. And the second thing is, how often are you going to be partying with more than 2 people, unless you're playing some mad spammy deck? And I think this really would go well in a Vikings deck or a Chocobo deck, like Ben said. Something where you get a load of value for your forwards, I think is going to be the only chance this really has of getting a bit of play. But I do really like it as a card. I'm just pissed off that it's Noctis again.
Yeah, it's a recurring theme. This comes up a lot now. I used to talk more about it in the past, and people didn't really think it was a big thing about the name distribution and stuff, but it's becoming more apparent now about how the names are distributed and which categories they get put in and what gets support and stuff. But probably for another podcast when we do a more traditional podcast with stuff, but with our Ronso Rays and things like that. But yeah.
With my 15 decks, I look at kind of 3 Opuses ago, and it was like, which Noctis do you play? And then, who do you do that? And I think I eventually sorted out on the backup one. And then they came out with the dual element, and I was like, okay, that's the best one by a mile. Then they came out with the backup, and when it first came out, I slated it. But it replaced it. And then this one's come out, and I'm like, well, this is the worst out of the 3. But it's still a good card. It is a really good card. I put it in A because of that, It's just not... I don't think it's good in... I don't think it'll be in meta decks, basically. I think it'll be in kind of the lower kind of spammier, if you can deal with this early on, you're fine type decks.
I think the point is that this doesn't need to be named Noctis. It doesn't need to be a Final Fantasy 15 card. This effect could have gone on absolutely any card.
Even if it was a new Yuri or...
Yeah, there is nothing special about this card. Like, nothing really that relates to Noctis in these abilities. Like, I understand like he's got all of these different weapons.
Yeah,
And
I was going to
that's
say the
maybe,
flavour is around the weapons, I guess, isn't it?
that's a massive reach for
It
me.
is, I think that's not what the intention is. I think he's reached in for it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
So as
you're
I
right.
said,
It could
I
have been
just,
anything.
yeah, I said it could have been pretty much any forward, but
I honestly think if this wasn't called Noctis, I would have given it an S. But I think because it was Noctis, I've had to put it an A. And it is great, but that name, like, just stop giving us Noctis now.
Right, let's move on to the last one of the set of the new ones. Probably the most, I want to say contentious, but probably the most talked about one when it was spoiled. Probably the most that we've had discussions wise in all the general communities about a card. I think maybe I'm over-grandized on this, which is the Arden. Some people talked about it. I think I'm trying to say, trying to spice it up. So Arden, I think it's probably because we misunderstood how it worked because no one bothered to read the actual blog that revealed it. But this is 5-cost Dark Forward Arden. He is a Chief Minister, 9,000 power, category 15. When Arden enters the field, discard your hand. When you do so, your opponent selects one more than the number of discarded cards from 3 following actions. Here we go. Your opponent can select the same action more than once. Very important. Your opponent selects one character they control. Put it into the break zone. Your opponent puts the top 20 cards of their deck into the break zone. Arden deals your opponent 1 point of damage. George, you don't get to go last and you go first on this one. Because it actually is, well, because it's going to be your S slot.
This is my S slot, yeah. Yeah. So, I really like this card. I really do. I like the fact that Nyx can play it in. I like the fact that backup Noctis can play it from the break zone. I like that it's searchable. I like everything about it. And realistically, like, I was talking to someone about it the other day. I was like, that deal you 1 point of damage you might take if it's like turn 1 or something, potentially. But like the one that's going to get used is the breaker character. You know, that's the one that's going to get used. And if this comes out late game, like, you've got to think really hard about what you're going to do, don't you?
Yes, so actually, yeah, we probably clarify just in case people were confused when we were talking about why it was discussed a lot. So with the Arden's effect, Mitch, you can back me up on this if I explain it wrong. But if you discarded, say, 5 cards, they have to pick 6 options, and your opponent only controls 3 characters. They could break the 3 characters, but then if they've got no characters left after the first 3 choices, that doesn't mean they then have to go into the other options. You can choose to break a character again, even though you don't have any. If you wasted 10 cards on one character, they could just pick one. They could pick the character thing 10 times, even though they only have one character. Have I explained that right?
yeah.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
Yeah, so George going S. Mitch, you've obviously got, I think, B left for this one.
Yeah.
So do you want to counter what George is saying?
This again, the light and dark ones I really struggled with. Like before we started this podcast, this was in D tier. Like this was dog shit. Like this is probably the worst legend. Now I'm thinking, and they purposefully said this card is not an aggro card. But if you set this up, say you've got 3 backups, and say I don't know, 3 in hand or whatever, like after playing Arden. If your opponent, even if they will take the points of damage, because if they lose the backups, they've lost the game because they're 3 backups behind. They can only play forwards going forward. So I remember in the thing reading this is not an aggro card because it blah 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 whatever. But it actually could very well be a strong aggro card. It's not a first turn card like Neo XF, definitely not. Because as you said, they can just select the one character. Yeah, I've lost 1 backup. Like I can still play more. But if you do this like turn 3, 4, that's when this card becomes really strong, and I think it's a real it could even be a real, like, maybe even a meta card if that is something that happens. But then also, if you play it if you don't draw it at the right time, or like you draw it in your first hand, or you draw it after, like, or when you've got nothing in hand, say you're top decking, you've got 3 backups, you play an Arden, they lose 1 character. Like, who cares, sort of thing. It's too late by then. That's not going to be good enough. Or they take it, or like you're on 6 points of damage and they're on 0, and they're like, okay, I'll take a point of damage. Oh well, it was 7-drop Odin. Now you're dead. Like, there's times that this card is going to be absolutely insane, and there's times that this card is going to be absolutely shit. And I can't work out where I want to put it because of those, like, what's going to happen more often. So I've gone for the middle of the ground, sort of B, and it could literally be in any of the tiers. Maybe not S, because it's not going to be better than Rydia and Porum, but it could literally be in A, B, or C, and I wouldn't really bat an eyelid.
Yeah, well, I've had to put it in A. You put it in B, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I only had A left. Again, it wasn't really by choice because I didn't really prepare enough on it. This is one I really don't know as well. What you're saying, Mitch. I think I talked about it before. And I said this is a card that needs testing, and quite a lot of testing. So you need to really stick with this. Sometimes when I test cards, you sort of get a feel for it instantly. You're like, no, I don't like it, or yeah, I like it. This one, I think you really need to put the work in to see if it is good or not. It's either going to be really good or not really good. The biggest drawback for me is this discard in your hand. I mentioned at the beginning of the cast. The game really is built around drawing cards and having more cards than your opponent in hand. Particularly as the game is built around your hand is your resource. It's way better. All the best decks have been about hand size. Like if you've got lots of cards in hand, you're going to win. So discarding your hand is really risky if you're left with nothing and they counter this, or imagine Amaterasu in this off a free Rydia. So you've got a Rydia with 3 counters on it, you just Amaterasu this. You're like, okay, you lose the game then. So that's a worry. I think you need to be able to do it right. You have to know when to play it. I think you're always going to break the characters. That's what you're going to get off this. So you need to be prepared to try and force them to break a load of characters.
Yeah, if they picked anything else, you've already probably lost the game.
Yeah, if they're able to, confidently pick the other things.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, I think we were talking about it before, about the aggro side of it. These sort of Alcid, Zeramus decks and stuff. If you're then following up with this, you're really making your opponent, have a tricky time of what they're going to pick, because they're most likely at quite a few points of damage already. They've potentially got forward to a Palum Frozen and are struggling. That you get this, when you regain versus aggro, you're probably at like 5 damage, and then you can sometimes get control and sort of reel it in. If this comes down when you're at 5 damage, you're in a real pickle because do you lose all your characters? You're going to have to, because you can't really take damage. You can't really mill because you might be able to get away with a mill, but you can probably only select that once. Well, you will only be able to select it once, and you still have to pick the other stuff. So yeah, really not sure on this one. We'll see how it goes.
I would like to see in the future, and it's something we're already seeing now, is Ice potentially getting bonuses from having no hand. I think, because Lightning already, you get that with, you get the 1k and I think it's haste with Lightning. I think if you had cards that gave you those abilities, this card would be a much better card for those decks. It would be obvious that's where that goes. I think because Ice already wants, with Lightning, you want your hand low and you want their hand low. So if you can get their hand low and then you play this like if your opponent has no hand, this card is good because you're happy to go. If you discard your hand, they're losing stuff because of it. So each card will actually just, when you think about the value, like the value side of it, minimum what they'll have paid is 2 CP for the card plus the card in hand. You're playing Arden, however you play it, it doesn't really matter. They'll play forwards anyway, but all of those cards in their hand will be 2 CP because you're not actually playing anything out of your hand. So everything that you've broken costs you 2 CP and costs them a lot more. So it's not, but the problem, as you've said, like it can just be Amaterasu. So as long as you know that they haven't got anything in their hand to counter it, discard.
Which is quite easy to do with ice now, because you've got to sort of look at hands, and they're like what I'm thinking of, Cat Sith and Don Corneo.
Don Corneo.
The Don.
Yeah,
you can do that, so you can have a sneak peek. I guess even if you've got players who have got like 5 cards in hand and stuff, if you can force them to break all their characters, their next turn they are going to have to. They'll probably happily spend through to get. Spend all their cards to refill up their board and be like, look, I've just spent all my cards, I've now got 6 characters. Deal with that. And it's like, yes, I will. I'll play my lightning, and now you're fucked. Because you've fallen into my very obvious trap. So could be cool. Ben in the chat has put a lot of heart emojis and for Arden. He's always been a big fan of Arden. He used to like the Earth Arden. So I'm guessing he likes it. He also wants more standard units because we deserve more standard units. I think that was in response to Noxus.
With the Chocobos.
Fair enough.
The Chocobos and stuff. But see how this one goes. I think that's all of the Legends now. So I think the last 3, as I sort of said, were the Legacy. So the Legacy ones they went for this time were Ace, Yasmat, and Ash. So decent. I thought that was quite a decent selection of Legacy ones.
Pissed me off because I bought Yasmat's last set.
For the world. Yeah, for me it's quite good because I don't have any aces. I don't think probably will never draw any anyway.
I mean,
Yasmat, sure. The Ash is pretty cool. I wanted some more of them. That's quite a nice one to be reprinted. Again, don't understand why he's then put a light ace in, because he's doing this on a Legacy one. That was a bit random. We won't talk about it this time. We'll talk about it another time. The ace because I want to start George off because we're coming to the end. But yeah, are you happy with the Legacy ones? What do you think they should be doing with the Legacy ones? Do you think they should be doing anything different, or you don't really care? It's all about the collectible full art.
Yeah, that's what it's for. It's for all the collectors. But I also think I did have a problem with it all. But now that they've done that reprint of the cheap Legends, like the
school box.
Yeah,
what a fantastic product that is.
I think that was a genuinely brilliant idea, and I'd like to see more of it. But I'm going to take what we can get for now, and just I said it invites more people to the game and stuff like that. Because one of the big things that you see with new players is. And I think even I saw earlier YYT did a video of it saying how important are cards from previous sets now that you can't get hold of them, and that was a big thing. And they're reprinting all the good cards from that, and I really like that. And
I think we should big up Square. We've been a bit negative sometimes. I think there's a lot of discontent at the moment on the mainly around tournaments and stuff. That's a different story. We can talk about that in the next podcast, but. Yeah, that product is an amazing product, and as well, it's only about £40, I think. I think at RRP is like 40. It's either £39 or £49. It's like half the price of a normal box, and it's just ram full of stuff. It's got new stuff in it as well. It's like a starter deck comes in it, doesn't it? Yeah. Like a fire water one, I think.
Yeah.
And does it have a load of wind? Doesn't it? You can. Oh no, that's the FF10 one. But yeah, amazing product. Get loads of cards, loads of legends. Really awesome. So it'd be cool if they do similar stuff to that going forward. So cool. Yeah, that brings us to the end of the Legends review. So thank you for sticking with us. Apologies for the cut in the middle. If you're listening to this on the actual podcast or Spotify, etc., hopefully I'll resolve that problem. But you'll get a weird break in the middle. But yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, thanks for sticking with us. If you've watched us live, thank you for joining the chat. If you've watched us at all, thank you. So our plans for going forward, if you're watching this on YouTube, do consider subscribing to us. We've been very quiet. I think a lot of the stuff has, but we do have plans to get some more stuff out. We're hoping our organised play at Calamity should start again in the new year, sort of from January. So we'll be able to try and get some sort of gameplay of real cards. I don't think anyone wants to watch Octagon really. So we'll get some real card things. We'll get this podcast running sort of rather than just Legend Review, we'll get the sort of old school format back. We'll try and do that at least once a month, I think is the plan. And then we're planning in between probably do some sort of like deck building videos as well, where we'll go live and build some decks live or something like that.
We'll announce something, but I think we was talking about doing something every 2 weeks. Like we'll do podcasts once a month, but we'll do something off 2 weeks as well.
Yeah.
But we can always work something out.
Yes. So hopefully some stuff coming through, which would be good. And we love talking about this game, so
I just like talking.
Just talking. So cool. Yeah, thank you very much. We'll sign off and see you at the next one.
Thank you very much.
See you.
Bye.